Hello, dear folks. Welcome to Season 5 of our On the Pole series produced by the Stars Among Us. I'm Ozzy, and I'm very happy that you tuned in to this thank you tour of mine, as each episode is a thank you card to those who have impacted my life. And on this 6th episode of Season 5, I'm shining light on Robert and Michelle Colt. Hello, Colts.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Ozzy.
Hi there. Okay, so just so my audience knows who Robert and Michelle are. They formed the Acting Success Now, wanted to help fellow actors discover the tools to getting out of their own way. And this came from years of study in neuroscience, quantum physics, and the Eastern Mysticism. One of the things that they have really been concentrating on is the auditioning craft. I understood that when I met them back in 2010 during one of their workshops, and it had really impacted me and pushed me forward. I felt that so deeply on my podcast. Robert is known as an innovator and pioneer in his field, dedicated to truth, known as an empowerer, and Michelle, a passion for helping people connect to their authentic selves, getting past the perceived limitations and shine in their lives and careers. She has been and continues to teach sold-out workshops of the Inside Game in New York City, LA, San Francisco for 15 years with her husband, Robert. There have been testimonials that has been said about Michelle. For instance, my work with Michelle and my relationships. Or in my personal life, I was happy all the time. My depression has vanished. Or she teaches you concrete processes that make big difference in your life. And then there is Mr. Robert Colt, spoken about in the following way. He removes all the acting bullshit and gets right down to the basics of what the art of acting is all about. I have grown more in the 6 months I have been in his class than all the other classes combined. Not only has he improved my acting, but I have been booking more work than ever before. He truly believes in everyone's ability to be free of limitations and mediocrity and encourages us to explore our greater selves. They've also done a workshop on how to have the courage to let your light shine and be seen. My first question, which is, how did you two meet?
We met in New York City about 29, 30 years ago. Actually, it's really pretty interesting, Ozzy, because we had both hit rock bottom in a lot of different ways. And we met at a 12-step meeting for Codependents Anonymous.
Yeah, and we became codependent immediately and never went back to a meeting.
True.
Next question. Did you ever have a backup plan?
No. I came to realize that life doesn't really work that way. Not that I'm against backup plans. Mm-hmm. It's just that, life is a spontaneous happening. Mm-hmm. And no matter what my plan is, current, backup, or future, life is going to unfold as it unfolds. Mm-hmm. So it's rare to find people that can be with the challenges of life without planning, because the structure that we are is capable of handling any challenge if it's trusted. But because of the cultural input of conditioning, we are taught at a very, very, very early age not to trust ourselves, and most importantly, trust this extraordinary body that we have. There's an intelligence in these bodies that are absolutely phenomenal. But once the cultural conditioning comes in, we're taught how to think, how to feel, how to be, what we can do, what we can't do, how to approach challenges. So it's really, to me, a crisis that happens. Mm-hmm. Because we are unbelievably capable of handling any event that occurs in our life if we didn't have that cultural input.
It's interesting, Ozzy. I was walking out of a Whole Foods in Los Angeles about 8 or 9 years ago, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. All of a sudden, I saw the word conditioning as conditioning.
Right.
And what it cons us out of the conditioning is our authentic selves, and that fact that each and every one of us is so incredibly unique. There'll never be another Ozzy. We're all such unique snowflakes is a good way to say it. It also cons us out of being present in the moment, and it really cons us out of our potential, because the mind is constantly lamenting about the past and then regurgitating that onto the present moment and then projecting it out into the future.
Michelle just said that I think most people overlook and miss, which is really, really sad. And that is, she said, everybody's like a unique snowflake. Now, to really take that in, it's not as easy as it seems. Here's what it literally means. Nature never, ever repeats itself once. That means there's never, ever been anybody like you in the entire universe, ever. It will never be duplicated. So you are so unique as you are right now. It's an extraordinary thing if that could ever be taken in. But I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Culture doesn't want that uniqueness. And they create a split in us as people, because what they really want to do is put everybody through the same cookie cutter sheet with their morals and values and remove your authenticity. So it takes care of the functioning of societies. And at the same time, then they say, but you have to be an individual. It creates a neurotic state in men and women. It creates a neuroses. And yet the most amazing thing is there's never, ever been anybody like you, anybody like Michelle, anybody like me, anybody like your listeners. That is so extraordinary. To take that in is an amazing phenomenon.
Pinged, my senses.
Yes.
How or why did you get the idea to begin acting success?
I was really struggling. And I personally went to a workshop in San Diego, and there were some decent things at the workshop, and there were some things that were a bit truthy, that weren't truthful, but there were so many good things at it. But the most amazing thing that happened was, it was a very expensive weekend workshop, very expensive actually. And while I was there on the last day, I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I was like, whoa, I know what I'm going to be doing with my life. I'm going to go teach workshops to actors. It happened spontaneously. And that's what happened. I came back to New York and I put together a workshop. And at the very first workshop, we got very fortunate. We had 22 people. And from the moment that workshop started, it was only a success for us and for those who attended.
Wow. Did you have any mentors?
We're both really, really versed in quantum psychology. And there's a lot of beautiful techniques from that.
Nobody ever mentored me.
No, not really.
I've never been mentored. I've always, sought out truth in any way I could, and I felt I was fortunate enough to connect to some people that really had offerings that were, salient in that arena. And I was very fortunate to have the right knowledge and the right understanding. But there were a lot of mistakes too. You have to, give it everything you have and keep your eye on the ball. For me, the eye on my ball was truth. And I got very fortunate to, learn from some good people.
For me, Ozzy, in 2019, I was introduced to the work of a man by the name of Mark Woolen. And he specializes in inherited trauma and the mother wound or attachment trauma. And I did an extensive training with him in 2020. And so I would definitely consider Mark a mentor of mine. It was a facilitator training, and I would say 50% of the work I do with individuals now is very much based out of that modality. It's incredible work in terms of really getting to the root of self-sabotage.
Yeah, staying on the mentor thing for just a moment, it's interesting to me, Ozzy. For me, nobody ever gave me the green light or ever mentored me. It was really, I am a self-starter, I guess is the best way I could say it. I said, I'm going to do it. For 8 years, up until November of 2021, I taught this extraordinary acting class. A friend of mine in New York, who's a wonderful actor and an acting teacher, said to me, Rob, I need you to teach an acting class in California. I don't trust anybody. And that's how it happened.
So that when his actors left New York and went to LA, he wanted to be able to recommend someone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was called The Art of Not Acting. So everything that we've done, Michelle and I, was always about authenticity.
Mm-hmm. Always about that, you know, and then giving people tools and techniques out of what we call the front line.
The front line is made up of your thoughts, memories, emotions, associations, perceptions, body sensations, and what you have been told.
Which is all your conditioning.
It's all your conditioning. It's very much the way we perceive the world. But again, you just keep staying in your stories. You keep staying in your anxiety, your depression, your family history, you know, the stories of all of that. And unless you have the ability to have great, simple processes that really help you step behind the front line is a good metaphor for that, Ozzy.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's going to be very hard to not keep creating the same sabotage, I guess.
It's like this. You cannot have success with all those things and be in a state of greater well-being if you do not know how to step out of those thoughts and emotions that are getting in your way. The single most important thing, in my opinion, that we've ever talked about is the main function of your brain and nervous system, or you could say your physiology. And it's so simple. Your physiology cares about one thing and one thing alone, and that's it: survival. That's all it cares about. It doesn't care about happiness. It doesn't care about success. It literally just wants food, water, and shelter. That's all it wants. So now you're dealing with a mechanism that's just survival oriented. And now you're put into a culture and you want to have success in any area you're looking at. So now you're dealing with a survival mechanism that doesn't care about that. Yet to survive in our world, you've got to do those things. So it's a fascinating challenge. And I feel what we've done over the years is that we were fortunate enough to come up with a workshop. Michelle does private coaches that addressed all of that, in which presented people with real tools and techniques to deal with what I just shared, and that they're having really, really good lives and are having successes that they never, they always wanted to have, but they were being challenged to have.
You know what's really interesting too, Ozzy, and so many people have shared this with us after they've worked with us, is so many people do not realize that they have a fear of success. They think it's a fear of failure. And I'm not saying that fear of failure doesn't exist. It most certainly does. But it's really that fear of success. You know, Robert was really speaking, about this whole aspect of that the nervous system's being driven from a place of survival, also from a place to feel safe. And many of us were not conditioned to feel safe, shining, being our authentic selves. A child's main thing is to be accepted and loved by their family. So it's all about attachment when you're little rather than authenticity. If you came from a dysfunctional type background, so to speak, had parents who were never happy in what they were doing, that has so much to do with the sabotage, because your being liked becomes the most important thing.
Because being liked for a child means I'm safe.
And I'm loved. Being
loved means I'm safe. That's what its translation goes to a young child. I'm now safe. I'm going to survive. Now, when you get out into the world, the real world, if you're an actor, you're going up against so many other actors. How do you do that with confidence? Whatever talent you have, are you maximizing that talent? And are you working with somebody who is literally supportive and empowering that talent so you can grow in confidence and then take the necessary actions you need to take, and also have the tools and techniques when stuff comes up, whether it's fear or self-doubt or anxiety or, arrogance, that you have techniques that you can literally utilize so that stuff is right out of your way. And what's left is you right there in the moment, focused and delivering what you do best.
If someone's arrogant and that kind of thing, it's just a veil of fear. And it comes through as arrogance. And that's why being able to let all that go, these false masks, these false selves, whatever the heck you want to call it, that's the key, to be able to walk in there open in an authentic way. I don't care what line of work you're in.
The bizarre thing is you already are authentic by just breathing.
You couldn't be more authentic.
But it's the thoughts, it's the doubts, it's the mind. It's the mind. The mind is the enemy of authenticity.
Hello. Yep.
So let me ask you guys, what has been the biggest challenge in getting the minds to the level at which they can perform at the level that you see them performing?
Well, it's a great question that doesn't have a simple answer. What I mean by that is this: everybody is different. Not only different, everybody is brought up in a different construct, whether not just cultural, in their family system. Everybody has different tendencies emotionally when they're born. So, you're looking at each person with a particular makeup. And now, what kind of challenges have they faced? Have they had support, going forward in life? How was their education? There's so many factors that come into it that make who you are when you're ready to go out into the world. So I think the challenge is for people to really, really understand that no matter what is happening, no matter what you're dealing with, you are dealing with your conditioning, your survival mechanism.
The safety aspect, also something I say a lot, and I'm sure other people have said it too, is the mind is a wonderful servant and a shitty master.
Yeah.
And most people, when they have a really unpleasant thought come up or a very overwhelming emotion, another super important thing, and this can take time for someone to really realize this on a deep level. We are not our thoughts and our emotions. How could we be at our core anything that's temporary? All that is temporary. The way you wake up in the morning, you feel one way. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you feel another way. Same thing with thoughts. Another thing that's really important to understand is that the neuroscientists say we have anywhere between 20 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And the next thing I'm going to say is right out of Zen. One thought is no more significant than another thought. But the ego, the ego doesn't perceive it that way. The mind and the ego are the same thing.
So what do you guys draw on for inspiration? I mean, in doing what you do, because you're dealing with all of these different characters and history and...
For me, Ozzy, there's nothing more inspiring than seeing the results people get with the work. I mean, I did an hour and a half session with two men that are very dear friends and clients of mine. I don't usually do that, but for them, I do it. And, to see the light bulbs going off when I taught them some new techniques, helping somebody. I mean, I was so down and out at one time. I dealt with debilitating anxiety, depression as well, but the way it showed up in me was more anxiety, but I had suicidal thoughts at one time. I mean, to know that I can help and impart powerful information and most importantly, simple and profound techniques, that's my inspiration. I mean, I can get inspiration taking a beautiful walk on the beach here where I live. I have a very strong drive in me to help other people and to help people get out of suffering.
For me, it's different. When I was teaching my acting class for the past 8 years, what inspired me was the actor in front of me and seeing them, really seeing them. I was inspired by who they were and really are. And not just their talent, but their heart and their beauty. And I'm not talking physical beauty. If they're physically beautiful, that's such a subjective thing. Mm-hmm. But for me, the acknowledging of them, I would see their talent. It's an amazing thing to really see somebody and to acknowledge that, along with the spontaneity of what would come out of my mouth and the spontaneity of the work they would then do. My whole approach was very simple. It was all about telling the truth from a genuine response within the given circumstances. But I want to just hit on one quick thing before Michelle jumps in. And that is, when I would see them and really acknowledge them, at first, their suspicions and their doubt and their distrust and the emotions that would come up to defend, hearing the most beautiful things about themselves was amazing to witness. And that's when I would bring in the tools and techniques that we taught over the years from Acting Success Now, changed the name to Inside Game. So it opened it up not to just actors, but to writers, to producers, to directors, to other people in other walks of life.
Therapists, doctors.
Yeah, but that was the most amazing thing, to really see somebody, acknowledge them, and then watch all their lies of conditioning come up and their fears and other emotions, and then give them processes in the moment, and then watch them blossoming and blossom. That was the most inspiring thing for me.
Of all of it, what are you most proud of?
You know, Ozzy, I just don't relate to anything I'm proud of, but I could just say that in the moment of it's happening, it's the most beautiful thing that I think I've ever experienced.
That's kind of what I got.
And for me, it's, it's what I said before. I mean, I know that I'm just a vehicle, a vessel through which all of this information comes out. I mean, when I was working with my 2 clients today, I would say 45 minutes of the hour and a half is just downloads coming through me. And what I do, Ozzy, is I remind people of what they forgot. And it's one of my gifts, the ability to do this, to tap into it, into the quantum field, you could say, into whatever you want to call it. And I also do have just a sense of where people are blocked, and I know what to say. I know what techniques to impart. That I'm paid for this is just, it blows my mind, because it's play for me. It's an improvisation for me when I'm working with people. I mean, it's just, I never in a million years would I ever have thought that I would have done this. It just fell in my lap in the most funniest, craziest way to coach. And it's the most natural thing for me in the world.
What is that thing that you would have coined to have achieved by doing what you do?
Helping people to connect to who and what they really are.
Having fun and being yourself. That's really what it ultimately came down for me. People, the best compliment I ever got in my entire life was from an actress in my class in LA. I taught in LA and New York. I'd go back and forth. And this LA actress said to me, "Rob, you've taught us how to have fun again." And for me, I have never, ever gotten a more beautiful, beautiful compliment in my life. Life is challenging. It is. Some people, get better roll of the dice than others. In acting, they call it a play. I'm in a play tonight. Nobody ever says, "I'm in a seriousness tonight." And in India, they have a beautiful word called Leela, which means play. They would say this world is, they call it a divine play. That aspect of playing, having fun, for me was the most fulfilling part.
I know several actors and actresses, and I'm sure there was many more than several, that were just about to stop acting. They had lost all of their love for the craft, and then they met Robert and they took his class. And another thing that was said to me over and over again, because a lot of his students were also clients of mine, is that there was no competition in those acting classes. Because one of Robert's gifts, I have goosebumps right now, is the ability to see the uniqueness in each and individual actor. So how could 2 unique snowflakes compete? Well, they can't, because they're so unique, onto themselves.
And I think because there was such a deep and equal acknowledgement of each person's uniqueness, that was very fulfilling to really have that reinforced, and to hear that you began to root for everybody.
So is there anything that you have learned about yourself that is different since March 2020?
That is...
Because there have been so many changes in people's psyche, so many changes in the world, so many, what I mean?
Yes. One of the most powerful things that I learned in my inherited trauma, breaking the bond with the mother work, is this aspect of, once somebody has been traumatized in any way, shape, or form, they're constantly navigating their world from a place of fear. It was such a crazy thing that happened in March of 2020. And, it forced me, which was actually an amazing thing, to start doing all of my work on Zoom. So when I do a workshop now, I have people, foreign people, sometimes people from all across the United States, Canada. And it's this whole aspect of, don't get caught up in that fear. Don't do it. You've got to really, really, in my opinion, of course, notice who you spend time with. Notice what you're watching, because we're all being brainwashed on some level all the time. So what are you listening to consistently? Who do you surround yourself with? And not like, anal or, neurotic about it, but like, who do you choose to spend time with? Getting out into nature. When we commune with nature, we're able to experience things from more of a 5D perspective. 3D is all about survival and fear. So a lot of things have changed in the way I look at things since March of 2020. How about you, sweetheart?
I went from having the most incredible life with in-person classes 3 days a week, where it was, I taught on average 7-8 hours a day. I mean, I never took a break. I was nonstop. There was so much love in those rooms and connection. And that was taken away in March of 2020. And the adaptation was then doing Zoom classes. Didn't have the aspects of being in person. Something else came with it that was, quite positive. It became something that people really were able to look at their work from a film perspective. The thing, though, is there was still a bizarre isolation going on. There wasn't the warmth of being next to each other. There wasn't the physical connection happening. It was a virtual connection. So to me, that was a challenge, and to learn how to stay connected during a very potentially disconnected time.
The upside for you both, as far as it pertains to going through these last 3 years, would be what?
Well, it would be being able to connect with so many people, because I would take a lot of trips to New York when I was living in LA, well, vice versa, actually, and get to see my clients there. And they could also do like Skype sessions, because Skype was the thing back before then. But it was being able to do my work with a larger audience, just because we're meeting on Zoom. And that was an upside. And I taught a lot of workshops during 2020 to help people with everything that they were going through. I mean, my work was so popular because, it's all about regulating the nervous system, and everyone's nervous systems were so deregulated. So for me, it was being forced to move into a Zoom format and be able to connect with a lot more people.
I never think about upside on it or downside. I mean, I don't, so I just think that it was amazing to watch how the classes continued, how we adapted to the circumstances that everybody had to adapt to, and that we were highly successful in our adaptation.
Talk to us about the ebook, Michelle.
Oh, I'm so excited, Ozzy. For many, many years, I'd say for 10 years, people have been asking me, when are you writing a book? When are you writing a book? And that is a huge undertaking. So it was in September of 2020, SAG-AFTRA reached out to me because we had been speakers for SAG-AFTRA for many, many, many years, and had been told over time that we were two of their favorite people to have come in and speak. Because, obviously actors need our work. Everyone can benefit from our work, but especially actors for lots of obvious reasons. So I did it was like a webinar, and they had me speaking for an hour straight. And then one of the, higher ups in SAG-AFTRA asked me questions for a half an hour, and it was hugely successful. And so one of my best friends and clients said, you've got to have that transcribed. There's your book. So I hired one of my clients who does transcription, and she transcribed it. And then I sat down and I thought, you know what, let me start with an ebook. And so I started, writing out different ideas. There's processes in my ebook, quotes of mine in my ebook, information. And then we moved in July of last year. And so it got put on the back burner a little bit. And I had this terrific woman who assists me. And she's also an amazing writer, editor, and art editor. So she took my words and she made it into the most beautiful ebook. And it was literally just sent to me yesterday, the final completed ebook. So if anyone's interested in purchasing the ebook, I'm happy to give you a discount on it. It's $19.99, but I'm happy to give any of your listeners a discount of $14.99 for the ebook. And it's extraordinary. Anybody who has looked at it has been completely blown away by it. My daughter, my 35-year-old daughter, basically said it's an experience. It's a work of art. Mm-hmm. Robert was blown away by it. He had nothing to do with the writing of it.
I've read many ebooks over the years, and they were really promos for the most part. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are promos. Mm-hmm. What stunned me in reading Michelle's was the honesty of it and the transparency of it and the heart of it. It was just her, and it was really the most. I'm still stunned by the beauty of it in terms of its content, and you really are talking to somebody who's been through the challenges that most people listening have been through.
Michelle, give us the name of it again.
The Nervous System Whisperer.
And it can be found where?
They'd have to contact me at this point. It's not up on my website yet, so they can just email me at michelle@insidegame.com or michelle@michellecolt.com, and I can, get them a copy of it.
Michelle's website is up, but she has a new website that's just about finished that will be transitioning to that new website, and that's when it'll be up there, right?
Yeah, it'll be on my new website.
Honestly, it's so beautiful. And the gal who put it together for Michelle did it in the most beautiful picturesque way and creative way. I've never seen an ebook like this.
And then congrats, Michelle, on that.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to buying myself as well. Now, the other one thing is you have a workshop. Talk to us about the workshop that's coming up.
It's on May 1st. Mm-hmm. It's from 1 to 2:30 EST time. I always record everything. Mm-hmm. Usually about half the people are not able to be there live. Everybody receives the workshop and the booklet that goes with it within 20 minutes of me teaching it live. The name of it is Inner Alignment, Your New Key to Success. And I'll highlight one aspect. I'll be teaching a bunch of new stuff, but the thing that most people are really excited about, I already have a nice sign up, is I'm going to be literally teaching people how to communicate with their subconscious so their subconscious feels safe in terms of whatever it is they want to create in their lives. Because if the subconscious, some people call it the inner child, all different ways we can look at that, does not feel safe about something we want to manifest in reality, it's probably not going to happen. You've got to have that aligned. And the process I'm teaching is just amazing.
I love the title of our new workshop, Inner Alignment, Your New Key to Success.
Can't wait to let people know more about that. And then the third thing is your essential oils. Give us an idea of the types of oils and the price range.
Yeah, the prices range, from, I think the least inexpensive one is around $20. And of course, they go up into the hundreds of dollars depending. And again,
but most of them are in their 40s.
Yeah, 30s, 40s. Yeah. A lot of times people will say, I'm dealing with these three things, and I'm able to put together 3 essences that are under $100 for them. The prices really vary. And what I would recommend, if anyone's interested in getting into that with me, they should just email me and I can set up a consultation with them, and we can talk and that kind of thing. And again, with everything that everyone's been experiencing since 2020, I have ones that are just gorgeous in terms of grounding you and helping you with mental clarity and all of that. Yeah, they really address everything from the spiritual to the mental to the emotional, the physical, and every single one of them literally oxygenates all the cells in the body. They're extraordinary. And I only work with this company because of the quality. There's a lot of different companies out there, and a lot of their quality is okay. This is on a whole nother level. I have 12 different kinds of lavender.
Wow.
And a lot of times when people smell one of the Wisdom of the Earth essences, they say, oh my God, that's patchouli. I never liked patchouli. Or even the lavenders. They're like, that's lavender? And I'm like, yes. I mean, this is true with anything. When it's something is at that level of quality, it's a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm. I really wanted to be able to speak with you guys. It took me a while to sort of line things up in terms of when and within which season. And this was just the right season to have you on, because I remember the feeling I had when I left the workshop I did with you guys, those days that I spent. I remember it clearly. And as I'm speaking to you now, some of those feelings come up for me right now. I remember your faces. I remember, the class. I remember the location. I remember some of the faces that were in that class. It was very, very impactful for me. And that feeling stayed with me for such a long time. I think I reached out to you guys later on.
Yes.
But it also shifted. I noticed what was happening within my career, the acting career at that time. And it was just, things were moving along. And I was writing my book and my script. And then, up until, Family Matters happened. But it was so impactful that I needed to have you guys on. I needed to kind of, just having this conversation with you guys right now. I feel grounded. I feel happy. I feel clear. Listening to the things that you're saying, I'm like, yes, you're feeding my soul with everything that you say. So again, I know that you're busy guys. I know I sort of maybe came out of left field, like, listen, I need to talk to you. And, my little podcast and whatnot. But I really, really appreciate you coming on now, as I still appreciate what happened in 2010.
That's beautiful, Ozzy. I remember you very well. You really stood out for me. And I appreciate you reaching out to us. Robert and I absolutely love to talk about what we do. We haven't done one of these in a while. We used to do a lot of this kind of thing, and it's just been an absolute delight. And I really want to thank you for reaching out to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to take care of your listeners on this, Ozzy, I've shared a lot, and I'm not, Michelle's got a lot happening, and it looks like I'm not doing anything. So just to cover that, I am on my own different movement, and a big part of that is I'm looking and putting up a couple plays, which I'll have the lead and direct in as well here in Sarasota, Florida. One would be Orphans, and the other would be The Zoo Story. So, after all these years of putting a lot of energy out in a certain particular way, there seems to be a movement that seems to be naturally moving back to doing some acting. So just wanted to let you know that.
Do you think that might have come from what has happened these past 2 years, or is it something that you planned prior to 2020? No.
It's a great question.
It's a great question, and I don't know. It just seemed to happen again. I spent, I'm 62. And I spent the last, 17, 18 years, putting all this energy into, other people's success and showing them techniques, and all those things with information. And I couldn't have been happier. I couldn't have been more fortunate to have done that. I feel I've been incredibly lucky that I spent 17 years doing what I love. And there's been a transition and a shift to getting back to something that was one of my early loves, which is acting. I've had a few loves, in this world, aside from a relationship with Michelle. And one was basketball and sports. The other was acting, and then was doing what I did for the past 17, 18 years that naturally moved into teaching acting, which was a highlight for me in many ways. And now it's moving into going full circle to, acting. So it's just a really amazing thing to witness.
Yay. I just want to say to my audience, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today. Please care to share. Remember, when you're on your beat, Stay on the sunny, sunny side of the street safely. Don't forget to give thanks for the little and big gifts. Robert and Michelle, I can't tell you enough how happy you make me being on the show. I really am grateful for you being here.
Well, thank you all.
I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting out the very beautiful things you put out to the world.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. And what is the website? Give me the URL to the website again, Michelle.
Sure. My website is www.michelle with 2 L's, Colt, COLT.com. If anyone, I don't put my workshops on the website.
Right.
I just haven't done that. So if anybody's interested in more information about registering for my workshop on May 1st, they can just email me at michelle@insidegame.com or michelle@michellecolt.com. And I would be happy to offer a discount to your listeners for that as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Robert, looking forward to all that you're going to be doing soon. And thank you very, very much, guys, for this time. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Ozzy.
Thank you, Oz.
Much love.
Thank you. Same here.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey there. Please help us in our mission to support those facing fatal diseases through our t-shirt sales by donating or shopping at OzzyStewart.com or supporting us at anchor.fm/Ozzy Stewart. That's ANCHOR.FM/Ozzy Stewart. And don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel at Ozzy Stewart. Yep. Leave a comment.